tells the truth. All right, this is my first podcast. I'm so excited, but let's get right into it. This episode is called Truth and Trials, and we're going to start out by speaking about Candace Owens, an update on the Diddy trial, and Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor on the Diddy trial, has a lawsuit. So let's get into it. So, welcome to Truth and Trials, where we are going to unpack the story shaking up politics, media, and justice. Today's episode is heavy, and we begin with Candace Owens' heartbreaking podcast about the assassination of her friend Charlie Kirk. Okay, this is pretty amazing. I don't think a lot of people knew that Candace Owens was literally best friends with Charlie Kirk. They started out together in politics, and this is an untimely death of a very young man that was very controversial, who had a lot of controversial views that offended many groups of people. So, on September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated while speaking at Utah Valley University. In her September podcast, which September 15th, which is today, Candace broke out and wanted to get answers. She called Kirk her best friend and brother. She vowed to continue his legacy and said she would never unsee the violence of his killing. Authorities arrested Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old man believed to have acted alone. But Candace isn't convinced. She criticized the FBI delay in releasing suspect photos and hinted at a broader conspiracy involving underground Discord chat and political enemies of Mr. Kirk. So Candace also lashed out at somewhat of Charlie Kirk's rival, Nick Fuentes. Now, she didn't initially name drop him on her show today, but we all know that Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro all came up in politics pretty much together with their very conservative right-wing ability to mobilize the youth. They had a very strong attraction to the youth. They were funded by donors, which have finances in the millions and billions of dollars, to get them out there to push the narrative, to embolden the youth to get on the conservative movement. Okay. So Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk were pretty much on the same page, but they had a lot of differences. Nick Fuentes is considered to be very extreme right wing, and Charlie Kirk was more conservative, but he turned a bit extreme. But Nick Fuentes felt he wasn't extreme enough. So they butted heads based on their political beliefs, and that was some of their issues. And Candace kind of called it out today. So she accused him of exploiting Kirk's death for attention. She tweeted in the last couple of days, Charlie died, but Nick's the victim. Stop grifting off his death. The conservative movement is clearly shaken. So she also warned that other conservative voices like herself and Ben Shapiro may be next. The fear is real and the stakes are rising, is what she stated on Twitter. So again, Candace feels that there is more to the story. She is not convinced that the one lone man with a so-called assault weapon took out Charlie Kirk. She feels that there was some things going around in the last couple of weeks, months. Charlie Kirk was having a lot of meetings with some of his donors. They were not happy with him because he was pushing more of a narrative against Israel. So Israel has been in the news. Everybody knows what's going on in that part of the world where there's this big conflict with Gaza, the Palestinians, and Israel, and all of the stories and narratives that have been put out for and against Israel. The negative information that's coming out is that Israel is more on causing a genocide and war crimes. On the positive side, a lot of people are stating that it's the terror group Hamas or what have you. But Charlie Kirk is and was funded by some of the pro-Israeli people because he is considered an Anglo-Christian, where they have these beliefs that they are all pro-Zionistic. And so they promote and push the narrative for a pro-Israel, pro-Zion. But Candace stated on her show today that Charlie was changing his views and pushing the narrative to his very young audience, and Israel had an issue with that because the stakes are high for them with the narratives that are going forth that are not for Israel, and they depended on him to push the positive narratives. So Candace's theory is that they may have had maybe a hand in something. She's not sure. She does not have proof, but that is kind of the direction that she's going in. So we will be keeping up to date on where this story goes, how much more she digs into it, because she said nothing is going to stop her with finding out what happened to her friend. So now moving on to Diddy. So Diddy has come out, and we are still waiting for the early weeks of October for his sentencing date. Okay. So, but in the meantime, Sean Diddy Combs isn't backing down with some of these lawsuits that he has been putting out, or that he has had his legal team write up motions to the judge based on why he was not afforded bail, why they are pushing for this charge on him that he thinks is unfair. But let's get into it. So after his partial conviction in July under the Mann Act, Diddy has filed a motion for acquittal or a new trial. Now, we spoke on this a couple of weeks ago. His lawyers argued that prosecutors misuse the definition of prostitutee under the 1910 statute. They claim the relationship in question were consensual and not transactional, and that the government applied a modern interpretation unfairly. So, So here we are with the Diddy trial. So he also, but that's not all. Diddy has filed a $100 million lawsuit against NBC Universal Peacock TV and Ample Entertainment over the documentary Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy. He alleges the film falsely linked him to a murking, trafficking, and extortion using misleading edits and unreliable witnesses. I mean, I can't agree with Diddy. This lawsuit could reshape how streaming platforms handle controversial documentaries. Diddy's team argues the film was rushed for views, not truth, and unfairly influenced public opinion before his trial. Now, I can agree with Diddy, but luckily it really didn't affect the jury. They acquitted him on all of the large charges that could have put him in prison for a very long time. So I am not opposed to this Diddy fighting for his name. He is also still fighting for his freedom. He is hoping that he gets time served and a very lesser time with the two charges that he has, or they are diminished altogether. The Mann Act charges, the maximum is about 10 years, but being the fact that Diddy is a first time offender, there is a point system that the judge has to reside around based on his not having a background of any criminal background. So in my opinion, I'm looking at he may do at the most 2 years or he may get time served. So looking at the Mann Act and the history, there has not have been a lot of cases where the person that has been convicted for the first time is receiving like multiple years for these charges. So again, Diddy is fighting for his life so he can get the lesser time, possibly time served, and also fighting to clear his name. So we have to keep up with that. Again, the sentencing date is early October, and we will be following up with that when that comes about. Now, it's surprising that Maureen Comey is in the news as well. And this is not her first time being in the news, being that her it was unfortunate that she was actually fired from her position for no reason at all. So, Maureen Comey is the former federal prosecutor and the daughter of ex FBI Director James Comey. Now, of course, everyone by now should know that Maureen Comey was the lead prosecutor on the Diddy trial. And shortly after the trial wrapped, she was fired by the Trump administration. Now, Trump and Comey's father go way back. James Comey has filed a lawsuit against the federal government over her abrupt firing in July. But James Comey, which is Maureen Comey's father, the former FBI director in Trump's first administration, was also fired by Trump. They had differences. He came on in support of Trump, but then their differences got to a point where Trump felt that he was no longer needed and he was fired. And now history is repeating itself because his daughter was also fired by Donald Trump. She claims her dismissal was politically motivated and unconstitutional. The lawsuit says she was fired one day after being asked to lead a major public corruption case and just months after receiving an outstanding performance review. Now, she was also involved in the Epstein trial. I believe, I'm not absolutely for sure because I didn't look it up, but I'm going to put it out there that she was a part of the prosecution taking down Ghislaine Maxwell and sentencing her to prison where she is right now serving her term because of course with Jeffrey Epstein he was unalive, so he did not serve any of his time, but she was heavily involved in that trial. Now people were looking into that. There were once the files were supposed to be given out back in the summertime, around this time they were supposed to be looking back into the case, and I believe she was supposed to be on the prosecution team, but for some reason she was fired and now she's fighting back with a lawsuit. Okay, Comey's attorneys argue that she was targeted because of her father's public criticism of Trump and her perceived political beliefs. The firing came via a memo citing Article 2 of the Constitution with no opportunity to contest it. Okay. So basically, she was fired on the spot and she didn't think that that was fair. And she is definitely fighting back. So this case could have major implications for civil service protections and political neutrality in federal prosecutions. Comey is seeking reinstatement and her back pay. Okay. So there are three stories, one theme: power, politics, and the true fight for truth, whether it's Candace Owens mourning a friend, Diddy challenging the media, or Maureen Comey standing up to the government. These voices are reshaped, and that's the narrative. So, what do you guys think about this? If you don't mind, you can leave a comment and subscribe to my channel as well, of course. But we will be going over pretty much news like this on a daily basis, possibly multiple times a day. But this is what I wanted to get into today. I'll possibly be back soon because I want to cover some sports, the actual world uh uh track and field competition that's going on over in Tokyo, and how Sha'Carri Richardson was trying to maintain her title as the fastest woman in the world, but we'll let you know what happened with that. But we will be following up with the Candace Owens situation and what she thinks and how she pursues her friends unaliving. So I'll be back, you guys. Thanks for watching and take care.